Hey, this is Al. We're at the Kelly Writers House, in case you didn't know. Kelly Writers House at the University of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And we're going to have some fun tonight because, first of all, I'm a happy camper because Gabby is back. We get to see Gabby. Gabby. Will you say hello, Gabby, to your many fans?
Hello. Hello, many fans. And hello, ModPo team.
So Gabby loves ModPo. ModPo loves Gabby. But Gabby's doing some stuff this fall that requires a ton of attention. And so am I right about that?
Yes, I am on the job market. I'm finishing a dissertation. It's happening, kind of.
It's very exciting. So anyway, we just sort of talked about how Gabby could participate a little bit, be with us, but also do the thing that he needs to do, which is to get a job. And so we're all, fingers crossed. Everybody, fingers crossed. Everybody, look at that. Everybody out there in ModPo land. Of course, luck is not really a thing in getting jobs as an assistant professor, tenure track.
I don't know. I think it's the only thing, maybe.
Okay. Anyway, we're so glad to see you. You're going to be joining us for week 2 and week 9. It's pretty good. And we also have JS is here. Hi, JS.
Hello.
Can you bring the mic right up to you?
Yes.
So first office hours this week or last?
First office hours last week, second office hours this week. So if you missed last week, come join me tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning at what time?
10 a.m. EST.
10 a.m. Philadelphia time. Great. And Lainey Brown is here. Hi, Lainey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm so excited to be here.
Lainey is jazzed for a couple of reasons. One is she had dinner with her son.
It's true. He just moved back to
who's
Philly.
in Philadelphia, and I have both my kids in Philly, and it's just such a delight most of the time. And Lainey is jazzed because she parted ways with 3 books that I just want to show. Okay? This one, unbelievable.
That's for Lynn Hygienian, that book.
Intaglio Daughters. Did I pronounce that right?
Uh-huh.
Yep. And the design?
The
painting by her son, the aforementioned dinner partner. Yes. Yeah. Okay. A second book. So Lainey doesn't just publish a book.
Oh, come
Gabby,
on. You're
Jason,
make fun of me.
Erica. Lainey doesn't do one book. She does 3 at once. So this is the second one. Letters Inscribed in Snow.
That's an Erica Baum cover.
Wait.
Our Erica
Baum.
Correct.
Our week 9 Erica Baum.
Who has an amazing show up in Philly now.
Yes, that's
true. I recommend.
That's true. And then a third one, because 2 isn't enough.
That's right.
Practice Has No Sequel. And what a great title. All your titles are great.
Thank you.
Now, you brought these for me. You didn't bring them to give away, did you?
No, but I could bring more if you want to give those away.
Okay. All right. The first caller tonight gets to pick one of Lainey's new books, and we will send it to you, 610-616-3208, 610-616-3208. And if you want to Skype us, ModPo Pen, all one word, ModPo Pen, is it. Sophia DeRose, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Well.
Why are you smiling?
I'm happy to be here.
You are happy to be here. Jason, hi, buddy. We were hoping to see you here, but we're glad to see you there.
Yes, I'm glad to see everyone there and on my screen.
Very cool. And Erica Kaufman, who missed last week, so people are seeing Erica for the first time this season. Yay, Erica, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. We talked this afternoon, actually. We're in touch. And Dave Poplar. Hello, Dave. Did I miss anybody? No. Okay. So, a couple of announcements, and then we're going to get started. I'm going to ask everybody for the first round to pick a favorite week 2 poem and say why. It can be ModPo Plus, or it can be the main syllabus. So, here are some announcements. First of all, next week, next Wednesday, which will be September 20th at noon Philadelphia time, we will have a ModPo webcast, and we will be featuring the amazing poet, Philadelphia-based poet, Rachel Blau Duplessis. And Rachel will be here pretty much all day. Rachel's going to be doing our webcast. Rachel's going to be doing a poetry reading that night. So we're going to send a link out to the poetry reading, probably at 6 p.m. on the 20th of September. The following week, which is, it's September 27th, we will be going to New York City, sometimes known as the greatest city in the world. And we'll be at the Siegel Theater at CUNY, the City University of New York, at 6:30 p.m. And we'll be there for our webcast, and we've got a whole bunch of New York people joining us. But if you decide you want to join us, let us know, RSVP, and we would love to have you join us, and we're hoping to go out on the town afterwards. And for me, this is important because the late trains are all gone. They don't do late trains back home to Philly. Amtrak, I don't know what happened to Amtrak, which means I'm staying overnight, so we're going to be out late, so party with us. Okay, I just want to say as a third announcement that we have essays people are writing this week on Emily Dickinson. It's a poem that Lainey picked out. It's a stunning poem. Thank you, Lainey, for curating that and all the essay assignments this year. If you are thinking of submitting a close reading of that poem, this was the week to do it, up through Sunday. You can do it any time, but will somebody let, is it Christina? Somebody let this person in? She's trying to get in. Yeah. So we have essays, can be posted, and then next week we're all going to be reading each other's essays. So very exciting. A fourth announcement, we want you to look in the discussion forums at the forum called Study Groups and Meetups. It's happening now. I think I announced that as part of one of my regular daily announcements. And there's been a flurry of things. There's an Austin, Texas group. There's a Louisiana group that's forming. There's another New York group that's forming. So go there and find study groups, really affinity groups and meetups. And we want you to do that because that's a good way to be really live with ModPo. One way is webcast, the other way is office hours, and the third way is study groups and meetups. So do that, and we won't be an impersonal massive open online course. We will be a personal one. Fifth and second to last announcement, some of you have noticed that we have this site called modpo.org. So we haven't abandoned our Coursera site. That's where we all are most of the time. But modpo.org reflects everything that's in the Coursera ModPo site. So if you find yourself clicking a link in one of my announcements and moving over to this site, modpo.org, you're going to see the whole new setup. And we're very excited about it. So you can search absolutely everything. So check it out, modpo.org. And final announcement, we are going to, after we give away a Lainey Brown book, we're going to be, for the second caller, we're going to be giving away this book. This one right here. Zach, are you showing modpo.org to the audience? Kind of slick. Can you now go back to me in this book? Okay. This is the book. The Difference is Spreading, edited by me and Anna Strong Safford. 50 contemporary poets on 50 poems. And Lainey, which 50 poems are they? Are they just any old poems?
They're ModPo poems.
They're all ModPo poems. And the poets who write about the poems are almost entirely ModPo poets.
Correct.
Yeah, so this is great. The Difference is Spreading. We hope that you will buy it.
I recommend it.
Who wrote about you? Did somebody write
Bernadette.
about Bernadette Mayer wrote about you.
And
How
I
about
wrote
that?
about her. You did a great job.
That's
with
right.
that.
You were kind of paired. Oh, how cool was that? Okay. So let's go around. We have someone on the phone, I believe. Let's bring that person. Also, we have someone in the room. Can you tell us who you are?
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Sokoldu.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
First time in ModPo.
All right. That's very cool. I guess at some point we have an extra mic. So if you don't mind, at some point we might, put you on the spot. But this is what happens. This is going to dissuade everybody from coming here. And also, before we turn to the phone, Sophia has promised to look at the thread, the discussion forum thread, and who, Dave Poplar, is willing to look at the YouTube chat. Are you up for that? Have you done that before?
I haven't done it before, but I can do it.
Would you be willing? Gabby, will you also open the YouTube thing
Yeah, I
and
can
see that?
Mhm.
Okay, so YouTube, Dave, and Gabby. Okay. All right, we're ready to go. Who is on the phone? Chris.
Yes. Thanks, Al. A quick announcement. Just we have a couple callers trying to get in at the same time. I can only screen one call with this system. Unfortunately, I'm working on that one of these days. But
Wait,
anyway,
there's a possibility of taking more than one call?
Maybe someday.
I think you're
Where there's-
bullshitting us.
Where there's a will, there's a way. I don't
Okay,
know.
good.
We've done crazier things before, Al.
That's
so.
true, we have.
Calling from Washington State, we have Lowell Murphy.
Lowell, oh my God. Lowell, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can perfectly. Lowell,
Yeah,
I'm sure you have
hello.
a question or a
Okay.
comment for us, but what I'd like you to do is be part of the first round where we're just going around and telling of favorite week 2 poems, okay? So you'll be part of that. So let's start with Lainey. Lainey and Jason will be on deck. Lainey, favorite poem this week and why?
I'm going to say Grandfather Advised Me or Poet's Work.
Which title do you prefer, by the way?
I don't want to choose.
I think Laureen did give that
Which one?
poem its title, Poet's Work,
Okay.
but also preferred it where it was originally published. It was just these little fragment poems, and that's where it didn't have a title.
Great.
I think Poet's Work does too much work.
Yeah.
actually.
I think
As it
that's
were.
right. And poets don't like to do too much work.
Well, present company accepted as far as I can tell. Okay, great. Jason is up and Dave is on deck. Favorite week 2 poem, Jason?
I think I'll go with Ray Armentrout's. Which one is it?
The Way.
No, not the way.
Oh, one from Modpo Plus.
One from Abba Plus. Because I have the way. The way is so embedded in my head that
Yes.
I don't need to get to week 2 for it to like
Good
pop
point.
up in my life.
Yeah.
But I really like the poem Speech Acts.
Speech Acts, yes.
I like it in part because of the way it is about not only language, but just about it's a meta poem that bounces out of itself into culture and media, like from the Crows communication to like Instagram selfies.
Yeah, it's got all, well said. It's got all of that in there. I think I'm turning to Dave next. Did I promise that, Dave? Dave next, and Gabby on deck.
It wasn't really a promise.
Did
but
I not
sure.
promise that? Okay, Dave next.
No, it wasn't a promise. I'm just saying you indicated it, but
I
didn't
indicated
get assurance that it would happen. So
Thank
cool.
you, Dave. But before you do your favorite poem, I'm just going to read Speech Acts. Something's going around. The crows started it. No language can tell us which crow. You who in the mama turnpike sexy tough shit steady state thought bubble song churn. What's new? Presence as fad. Humans photobomb the planet, pop up everywhere because incongruous is funny, and we want you to know. That's a good one. Okay, Dave Poplar, followed by Gabby. Favorite poem?
being incongruous is funny. In fact, that's a whole theory of humor. Incongruity theory, it's called. So I think that's pretty fun. My poem for this week that I like is Danse Russe, and it's for just a purely personal reason because I like to read this and envision William Carlos Williams frustrated at being confined in this suburban room. At the same time, I'm thinking about Emily Dickinson in her room, in her house, finding it as a refuge and not complaining about it, just doing her thing. Because I just think it's a funny contrast. You know, Emily Dickinson just powering away in her room, and William Carlos Williams is complaining and frustrated and going a little crazy.
Love that. I mean, this poem kind of doesn't belong in week 2 if we care about distinctions between Dickinsonians and Whitmanians, which of course we don't. But I mean, your connection to the room of Dickinson makes it Dickinsonian in that sense of pent up energy, blah, 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 and also writer's room, which is such an important theme, a meta theme. But then
on my notes on the poem, I have written, this is William Carlos Williams as a Whitmanian stuck in a Dickinsonian room. I don't know if that's my line or I lifted it somewhere, but
does it go back to when you were in my class? Possibly not.
Well, it's on my 2010 printout of the poem. So
maybe that was from class. Boy, you keep things. All right, well, before we turn to Gabby, let's listen to William Carlos Williams. Classic Williams.
Dans Russe. If I, when my wife is sleeping, and the baby and Kathleen are sleeping, and the sun is a flame-white disk in silken mists above shining trees, if I in my north room dance naked grotesquely before my mirror, waving my shirt round my head and singing softly to myself, I am lonely, lonely, I was born to be lonely, I am best so. If I admire my arms, my face, my shoulders, flanks, buttocks against the yellow drawn shades, who shall say I am not the happy genius of my household?
He didn't wait around for applause on that one. Gabby is next, and Lowell is on deck. Gabby, favorite poem?
I hope you don't eye roll at me making a similar gesture to Jason, but I also have a Mod Pope plus Armin Trout, which is a new favorite for me because actually I don't even know if I noticed this on Mod Pope Plus in the past, but I really like Second Person. I think it's just emblematic of what I like about Armin Trout, which is a sort of alienating, kind of weird, but also sort of funny and intimate use of language. So I like that poem.
When Armin Trout was here as a Writers' House Fellow, am I right that you introduced her?
I did. It was an odd interaction at a literal interpersonal level because I would not call her like the most like normal, but it was really fun. And she read really great stuff.
It was a great intro.
It was when Itself came out.
That's right. Yeah. I thought it was a great couple of days with her, and I was glad you did the intro.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And the intro is available. Anybody can see the intro, you know. Sorry. Now you're going to
throw back to like 2015 me, but yeah.
Why not? The 2015 you was very earnest.
Was he?
And now on the job market, you're going to turn earnest again.
Oh, that's not what it's looking like.
Sir, I really want this job. Sir and madam, I really want this job. If you hire me, I will do whatever you want me to. Would you read Second Person and then we'll go to Lowell?
Sure. Second Person. Lemons, lanterns, hang late into the evening. But you are known for your voluptuous retreat, for leaving your absence on the air, illicit, thin. I know you think I wonder if you think of me. This reflection spins a bead on a string. I can take it with me.
Nice. Someday we'll talk about what the second person pronoun has to do with that. Yeah, I think the video is, am I wrong? The video is me and Ray sitting at the Kelly Writers House dining room table talking about that poem. Okay, let's turn to Lowell. Hi, Lowell from Washington State. Do you have a favorite week 2 poem?
Hello, Al. Well, I actually have two, but I will go with The Way.
The Way.
Armin Trout.
Yes.
And I have a particular reason for that, and that is because this time, listening through it and reading through it, the poems by her, I totally got lost. Totally got lost in that poem. And I can't say that I know anything about what it is actually about, if it's about anything. But what caught me was the very first line where the card is in the pew, and it says, "I am here." So on the video of you and the others talking about that, there's a discussion about that. These are perhaps the words of, you know, that the Savior is here, or I think David said that, or God is here, or something. But I remember, because I've spent a lot of time in sanctuaries, I've seen a lot of pew guards, and they actually are. They say, "I am here," and then you fill out your name and address, and it's kind of a registration of attendance.
Wow.
That gets put into the offering plate and handed in. So that's another dimension about that poem. And I'm just thinking, I've been trying to think through, you know, how that would apply.
I think
so
it
that's
applies.
been fun.
Lowell, that is a fantastic reading. We've been talking about this poem for 12 plus years, and you've been in ModPo for 12 years, as far as I know. And here you are in 2023 adding that reading. That's amazing.
Well, you know, it takes a while to get up your nerves.
This isn't the first time you've called, is it?
Yeah. It's like the third, I think, in 12 years.
Yeah. Well, we totally adore you, Lowell, and so happy that you've been with us.
Oh.
And you and I have had a bunch of conversations variously over the years. Can you answer one question? And then you called with a question that probably had nothing to do with this, so I'm sorry. You'll have to call again to ask that question.
Okay.
We'll make way for somebody else. But
no, it's not.
Before you hang up, tell us your image profile, at least on Facebook, has always been Frank O'Hara. Is that right?
Well, it was for a long time.
And why is that?
Not now, but it was for. Well, because, you know, O'Hara is just, from the very first time I was in ModPo, it's just accessible. He makes himself accessible, you know, that personism thing.
Yeah.
And because I love New York,
yes,
having spent several years there,
yes,
I really, you know, I really love his poetry just because of those things.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And now you are in the opposite place. You're, as far as I know, you're in a like a plains, windswept, dry part of Washington, or did I make that up?
Nope, that's all true. I'm on the dry side of the Cascade Mountains.
Wow, that's amazing.
Opposite, 90 miles east of Seattle. Yeah,
that's great. Well, Lowell, we're going to salute you with applause and snaps. You'll only hear the applause from in the room, but you'll see probably the applause and snaps from the others. So here's to Lowell Murphy. Thank you, Lowell. Lots of love. Talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks. You pick out the book for me.
Oh, right. Let's see. Which Laney do you want? Let's see. I think Practice Has No Sequel might be a thing.
Let's let Laney pick it up.
Oh, Laney?
That sounds great.
I think he just picked it. I don't know. This one I wrote for Leslie Scalpino. Intaglio Daughters I wrote for Lynn Hygienian.
My mother is calling.
Oh. And the other one is kind of like an epistolary novel with Erica Baum.
Well,
so which one do you want?
Just choose for him.
All right. You're holding up this one. Let's go with
okay.
that.
Yes,
all right.
You chose these.
Lowell, somehow, you know how to email me. You can just email me your address and we'll get it, unless Chris already got it from you. Okay, great. Good evening, Lowell. We will send you this book. So fantastic. All right, great. That was Lowell. The number is...
I'm watching with joy. Thank you.
Okay, great. Take care. 610-616-3208. That was Lowell from Washington. Yay. We're now going to turn to Erica, favorite week 2 poem, followed by JS. Erica?
I'm having a Niedecker week, and specifically My Life by Water from Modpo Plus, which is just an astonishingly beautiful poem. And I've been seeing muskrats, and only a few days ago learned that was the thing I've been seeing. And they're incredible creatures.
Wow. So let's Let's look My Life by Water. We don't have a recording of her reading that poem. Do you know the only recordings we have of Niedecker? Do you know who made those recordings, Erica, by any chance?
No, who?
Sid Corman. He drove all the way out to Wisconsin with his tape recorder, and in 1970. All right, here is My Life by Water, and there is a very, very long, but we also made an excerpt from it, video of us in Seattle, Washington. I think, was Lowell there with us? I'm not sure. Anyway, Ray Armentrout, who now lives in Seattle, and Bob Perlman, who was visiting Seattle from Berkeley, who are both Modpo poets, were there in the audience as we talked about My Life by Water. So it is a highly recommended video in Modpo Plus. All right, here it is. My Life by Water. My life by water, here spring's first frog or board out on the cold ground, giving muskrats gnawing doors. They do gnaw doors, by the way. To wild green arts and letters. Rabbits raided my lettuce. One boat, two, pointed toward my shore. Through bird start, wing drip, weed drift of the soft and serious water. Erica, say again why you love that poem so much.
Well, I just love all of the piling up of images. And, you know, for Niedecker, it's a longer poem. And the way the poem is built, I'm having a hard time articulating what I'm thinking, but it's one of those poems that actually enacts its sounding. So this place begins to unfold as you progress from stanza to stanza.
Yeah. And in the conversation that I referred to, that much is made by Ray Armentrout, who wrote poems that look a lot like this, who has written poems like this. She really got into the sudden bird start, which is one word. Wing drip is one word. Weed drift is hyphenated. And that's all there together. It's almost like Gerard Manley Hopkins and Emily Dickinson rolled into one or something like that. Thank you, Erica. That was a great choice. J.S. followed by Sophia.
Yeah, so I was definitely also on the Niedecker bus this week, and also really just appreciated the cheekiness and cleverness of Grandfather Advised Me. But for the sake of a little bit of variety, Sid Corman's It Isn't for Want also just really struck me. It detained me. And I just kept wanting to linger with it and, you know, kept coming back to it, reperforming it, you know, existing in that time and space over and over again. And it really just, you know, has that lure to it. Yeah. Well, It Isn't for Want has become, JS, whether you know it or not, because you're just joining us this year, anthemic to Modpo because of its metapoetic quality. So since you're new to the conversation, why don't I play Sid reciting it, and then you can comment on what metapoetry is in this case. Not easy, sorry to put you on the spot, but it's crucial because a lot of people in week 2 begin to realize, oh wait, every poem in Modpo, except for, you know, Mending Wall, is actually Mending Wall's a metapoem too, is a metapoem. What is all this stuff about metapoetry? Why? And so maybe this is a great way to start that conversation. Here's Sid.
All right. It isn't for want of something to say, something to tell you, something you should know, but to detain you, keep you from going, feeling myself here as long as you are, as long as you are.
JS?
Yeah, I mean, it's a poem that is essentially about the writing and reading of the poem and the existence of the poem and the moment that it's experienced and encountered or read in whatever form that comes in. And also sort of is and isn't about anything. Is sort of
delaying an aboutness, and well, it states its purpose, which is it's not that there's something to tell you in this poem. It is just about that presence, that detaining, the coexistence, and the fact that in the moment that the reader is sort of there in the poem, that is when the poem and Sid Corman and are alive or present in a way.
Snaps, JS, that was great. Yeah. You just riffed that, and I thought it was tremendous. Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, Sophia, favorite poem, and then we're going to do another game. So here we go.
Well, I would like to point out that both myself and Lainey just wrote down delaying an aboutness because you said it, and I love that. This week, I mentioned this in my office hours earlier today. I love Grandfather Advised Me, the Niedecker poem. I think entirely for personal reasons. Not entirely, mostly for personal reasons.
Grandpa tell you to learn a trade?
No, my grandfather told me to be a writer. And I think that's why I love this poem. He did tell me to learn a trade, but he told me that being a writer was a trade. So
that's very cool. So it's somewhat different and somewhat similar to Laureen. Would you read the poem?
Sure. Grandfather Advised Me, or Poet's Work. Grandfather advised me, learn a trade. I learned to sit at desk and condense. No layoff from this condensery.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so I asked Dave and Gabby earlier to watch the YouTube chat. So what I'd like the two of you to do, if you're willing, is to scroll to the top, the earliest, and alternate a dramatic reading or non-dramatic reading of every one of the comments, scrolling down, but not names of the people, just the comments. Okay? So Dave, you're first, and then alternate. Dave, Gabby, Dave, Gabby.
What?
Dave, you look quizzical.
I don't understand. What you're asking us to do.
So you go to the top of the comments.
We're reading it like a play.
And you're reading them aloud. You read the first comment, then Gabby the second, then you the third, and alternate.
Okay. Does 5:30 p.m. mean local time, as in EDT?
I believe it's 8:30 p.m. local Philadelphia time, EDT.
Thanks. Wasn't sure if YouTube was adjusting to my time zone or not. Now I know.
Sure thing. This time, the time in the lower left-hand corner on your YouTube screen should reflect the time setting on your computer. Yes.
Yes, YouTube will automatically adjust to your computer's time zone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Much pleased to listen in. Beth.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, dear friends. CJ Prince here in Bellingham, Washington, eagerly waiting to see you all.
Hey, everyone. I'm joining from the St. Louis area.
Hello. Glad to be able to listen in.
Greetings, all. Fascinating puzzles this week.
And not just puzzles, but real struggles conveyed and meditated on.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, all. Been MIA so far in ModPo. Sorry. 8:30 p.m. allows me to join today.
Another year, Sanjeev.
Good to see you here, Sanjeev.
Welcome, everyone.
I'm here from Orange County, SoCal.
Hello, friends.
Hi, Sanjeev. CJ.
Hello, Sanjeev.
Hi, CJ.
Tuning in from Rockville, Maryland.
Hi, CJ. Darlene. Jane.
Current location, Wasatch Mountains, Utah.
I'm joining from Pasadena, California.
Hi, Sophia.
Hey, Sophia, Darlene, Lowell, Jane, Vijalaxmi, Nepstis. Who was this? Remind me. Sorry.
Hello from Michigan.
Hi, Vijaya.
Nice to see you again today, Vijaya.
Hello, Modpo.
Hi, all from Southern Quebec.
Hi, Cecilia.
Hi, Lou.
Hi, Mona.
Nice to see Gabby. Fingers crossed.
Hello, all.
Hey, Nicole.
There are studies showing it is more important to be lucky than smart, but lucky and smart is best of all.
Hi, y'all from Atlanta.
Hi, Vijaya.
So true, Suzanne.
3 books all at one go is amazing.
Congratulations, Lainey. Lovely books.
Hello from mid-coastal Maine.
Nice work, Lainey.
Are we still doing?
You can stop. You can stop. Snaps for these two dramatic readers. Okay. People at the table, starting with Lainey, then JS, then Sophia. React. What was going on? What is this? What value does this have? Any at all? What's going on?
There's a lot of value. This is interrelationality. This is the conversation that connects ModPo people to each other and the work.
JS?
Yeah, it's interesting to put people's words into different people's mouths, especially following along with the chat and, people who sent repeat messages, but it gets spoken out differently, dispersed.
Yeah. Sophia?
Actually, Mona said it in the chat before I could. She said, will this be an Armentrout poem? Because it reminds me of the polyvocality of the way.
Totally. I love it. I mean, I always go back and read all the comments at the end of the webcast if I have any energy left. And I just love that. And now, as people talk about what we're saying, the blab of the pave, somebody says, every comment pertaining to the reading that you guys just did in our comments is a meta comment, and now it will be a meta comment, and we could just disappear in the meta-ness of it. I just like that. We have someone on the phone, Chris?
We do indeed.
Who is it?
Calling from South Wales, we have Maggie Ball on the line.
Oh my God. Maggie, can you hear me?
Hi.
How are you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it is.
Fantastic.
I want to say
I'm calling from New South Wales.
It's I think 11 a.m. there tomorrow morning.
It is.
It
is. Yes,
amazing.
I'm in the future.
So Chris Martin he's never been to Australia nor to Wales. So he said you were calling from South Wales. Chris, this is New South Wales.
And it's New South Wales.
South Wales. Maggie Ball.
But that's fine. One day you guys are going to have to come and I will host you all.
I think that Chris and Zach are up for that, and I bet Lainey too.
Absolutely.
Okay, but that's going to cost us a little bit of money.
I know, fun time.
Which side do you drive on there, Maggie?
The wrong one.
The wrong one. Okay, we're about to do Scotland. If we don't die in Scotland, maybe we will come to Australia. Maggie, you've been with ModPo since I think the beginning or nearly the beginning. You're a poet. You are a poetry community person. You've had a podcast for years, I believe, and it is so good to hear your voice. So good.
Thank you. It's so good to be on. And honestly, I've had a few years where I've only been dipping in. But this year I've really been doing it like methodically in the main place. And
wow.
I've just been really surprised by how much I'm getting out of redoing some of those, those poems that have almost become so familiar to me that they're like my skin, really. And just going back into them and reevaluating them from where I am now is like reading a new poem. It's extraordinary, really, how powerful it is.
Maggie, can you pick one of the poems?
Thank you. I actually do have a question.
Oh, but let's defer your question for 1 minute, okay? Would you, of the poems that you're rereading and you're realizing, oh my goodness, I encountered these poems in ModPo all these years ago, and now I'm back. Tell us about a poem that really feels different because Maggie Ball is different or because all these years have intervened or whatever. What's a poem that you've reread differently?
Well, like Erica, I'm having a Lorene Niedecker week, and really I feel like I'm rediscovering her for the first time. And the poem that I thought I knew best of all of her work is, of course, Grandfather Advised Me, and that is a completely different reading to me, and it's this year. So I'm really rediscovering that one and discovering it not only in the context of how I've changed, but how the world has changed and some of the real, modern challenges that we're facing as a culture. And so really looking at that poem and foreclosure as well, almost together, and almost thinking about the poems in conjunction with one another rather than as individual entities, and how they talk to each other and how they're talking to me, and really thinking about things like AI, which of course I never thought of 12 years ago, and the climate crisis, and all of the many things that are happening politically, and looking at First Nations way of thinking in conjunction with colonialism, and all of those things are very much currently in my mind that were never in my mind before. And reading those two poems in that context is really new, and I really think that those poems do speak to those things, but I never thought about that in the past.
That's lovely. Yes, long live the open poem. Long live a poem that allows you to do with it what you need to do at any given time. While it apparently doesn't change, everything around it does, and an open poem enables this pattern and movement that you're describing. So cool, very cool. All right, so what we're going to do is ask you to tell us what your question or concern is, and then I'm going to ask Lainey and Jason to comment on your question, whatever it is.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all, really. A little extra, I wrote this in the forums, but just a little extra shout out to Jason, who shouted me out last week. So thank you. I heard that and I appreciated it. We've been kind of having a little side conversation. Okay, so my question really relates to what I just said, which is I referred to this as, or you referred to this, Al, as the Dickinsonian ratio, or the idea, I think, of taking two concepts and actually, comparing them. This is to that as that is to this. And in this case, the idea of poetry's superior power over prose, where poetry is a subversive act that is in some ways untamable. So it's all that makes us human, unpredictable, and beautiful, whereas, prose is more about cause and effect, occupation, if you like, and, in the case of foreclosure, legalese. So what confines us into a structure for, purpose, productivity, or output. So I'm never really comfortable with those binaries, but I really do feel like there's a sense in Foreclosure and Grandfather Advised Me, of something that is the bigger thing. What is more powerful than owning a house or punching a clock? And so I was hoping the team might, engage with that notion a little bit and talk a bit more about that. Poetry as subversive and that ratio.
That is lovely. Okay. Thank you, Maggie Ball. So Lainey and then Jason will respond. And Maggie, in order for someone else to call, will you hang up and then listen to our answer through the webcast?
Absolutely. I'd love to. Thank
Maggie,
you.
It's
Thank
great
you so
to
much
hear your
again.
voice. Take care. Be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you for raising these important questions that are in these Niedecker poems. The first thing that comes to mind is about poetry as subversive, and specifically thinking about Grandfather Advised Me is just a refusal to accept this culture of I am productivity, I am my economic material situation, and just an insistence to do the work that is going to nourish that, a poet feels they need to do, regardless of whatever are the physical difficulties encountered. And Niedecker is a great example of that. I'm thinking of Kate Colby, who's now visiting Niedecker's home and giving some readings in the area, and that's why she's not here tonight. And I made my first pilgrimage there last summer with the poet Carla Harriman, and it really changed my thinking about her work, because even though I knew a little bit about her life, just seeing the size of her cabin and standing in it, and it just feels like the end of the world. It's just very gloomy, imagining her walking in her coat like miles to her librarian job, and
her mopping floors at a school.
She worked really hard. She chose this. That's subversive to say this is more important than that.
Yeah. Black Hawk Island in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Okay, Jason, your thought on Maggie's question?
Yeah, I think I just figure this out. 'Cause I think I almost out of printer's ink, but I printed the poem out just so we can quickly look at it.
There it is.
And the I guess part of the question that I've always tried to struggle with is, well, what does that mean? Like this, what makes poetry, say, inherently more potentially subversive than prose? And I think that, my scientific side wants to then say, well, what do we mean? When we make that distinction, what exactly are we putting in one category? Like, what is exclusively prose and what is exclusively poetry? And there immediately, we've made a prose move to kind of create clarity and limits, but so what I think about is that's really important for us to, and we can think about this in terms of every poem we look at in Modpo, is how does this poem pack in more complexity and just pure information than it could do in prose, if the same, even just the same words, and of course this then brings up the prose poem, but I'm not gonna worry about that at this point. But if we have a poem and we have something that is lineated, and that we have something that's placed in front of us that from long ago would have rhyme, or other points in the poem where the poem is shooting out chutes and ladders all through itself to other parts of itself, so that we can't move through it in a pure bit in the information science sense of like one bit of information, being fed into our brains on a string, one at a time. That as we're in a poem, we're in this this complex space where the poem is able to create all these relations and connections, from figurative language that to sonic resonances, across the poem that allow for things to happen beyond what is being said. Yeah. And so that Maggie, I'd love to talk about this more with you. But I think really there's a pure materialist explanation of how what a poem is, or what poemness is, which is about constellations of just, information interacting unstably with each other, rather than information on a fixed linear string.
I love that. And I also love how you implied, and Maggie said overtly, that we don't have to follow these binarisms, the Dickinsonian, Whitmanian binarism, in order to celebrate and discover the qualities of poemness as you described it. We can both say there is that distinction, but also not abide by a false binarism. We're not also going to shun all prose, obviously. We're just trying to find what it is in that chutes and ladders sense that you described about a poem that makes it special, unusual, and
open and provocative. That's
right.
great.
And that can be within the reader. I mean, that's something that the poem can teach us as a way to read, but that's that kind of treating things as, poems is also something the reader can bring to a cereal box or, an instruction manual.
That's right. And poetry gives Maggie, 12 years later, reading Modpo poems again, a reason to notice that you wouldn't necessarily notice reading a cereal box, because this is a poem, I read it 12 years ago, I thought about it specifically 12 years ago, and now I think about it differently because it's got that openness, but we could do it for anything and probably should. That's beautiful. Okay, we have someone on the phone. What I would like to do is see if Heather, there's an extra mic, is that right? Heather, are you totally against coming up and joining us with the extra mic? Oh, you've got one. Look at that. Does it work? Can we test it?
Hi.
This is Heather. Heather, before we turn to the phone, tell us a little bit. Who are you? How did you get here? What's the story?
I stumbled upon this class. I don't know why or how, but I signed up, and I'm immediately drawn in. So because I only live around like 6 miles west of here, and you open the invitation if you're in the area to come.
Yeah.
I thought I'd come down here tonight. I'm glad I did. I
That's
don't
so
read
good.
a lot of poetry. I have it in the past in different times.
Yeah.
I mean, I studied it in school for certain classes.
Yeah.
But really enjoying, I mean, I have read Whitman in the past and Emily Dickinson, but not closely, and I'm really liking it.
Can I ask you a couple of follow-up questions about this? One is, what do the people in your life think of this idea that you're going to be? Because it's a lot of work, so you're spending time on this.
Yeah, I told them it was more work than I had originally thought.
And did the family go along with this?
Yeah. They are, I'm like, I got to go upstairs and do my homework now.
And do they ever watch the videos with you?
No.
Oh.
I have 2 teenage boys, so they're not that
totally,
interested.
they think this is bad. Okay. That's really cool. Do you think you can stick, this is a leading question, but can you stick with it for 10 weeks?
I think so, because a lot of, I can read at home. I listen to kind of the discussions on my commute.
Yeah.
Which
you
is
do?
lovely.
You listen to the videos audio only?
That's right.
Who's
Eyes on the road.
Who's your favorite TA? No, you don't have to say that.
I haven't talked to any of the TAs yet. So
yeah, but I mean,
listening. Oh no, I couldn't pick.
Okay.
I couldn't pick.
All right.
I really appreciate everyone's input and commentary, and I thought being able to spend some time with these poems and doing close readings would just. My hopes are high that it will kind of just open some new pathways in my thinking and lend some creativity to my day job and to my life, and so that's why I'm here.
That's great. Oh,
That's
yeah.
fabulous.
I love
Welcome.
that. That's so cool. All right. Thank you, Heather. All right. We are going to take a phone call, and I'm also going to ask whoever this person is on the phone, I'm going to ask J.S., Erica, and Gabby to respond to them.
We have Paul Kelly calling from the road on a trip that I myself would like to be taking from the sounds of it. But currently Paul is in Utah.
Oh, my gosh.
Making the call.
Wow. Hi, Paul Kelly. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Al?
That's great. You've been very active in the chorus recently. Don't think it isn't noticed. You're doing a lot in the chorus. Sounds like you're having a good time.
I am having a good time, and when we're driving, we're alternating driving, and I'm even trying to use the phone to to participate.
It's hard. The Coursera site doesn't do very well on a phone, but you can at least, I guess you can watch the videos. May be pretty hard to follow the discussion forums on the phone, but
yeah, sometimes it's possible to watch the video. Sometimes I have been just reading the transcript.
Oh, good.
And in fact, sometimes reading the transcript aloud to my wife.
Oh, really? So
As
the
we
two
ride.
of you are on the road together.
Yeah.
And where are you regularly? Are you West people, or are you from the East, or what?
Well, regularly from Beverly, Massachusetts, but my wife grew up in the West, and
Cool.
So we may be starting a life which takes us back and forth.
Are you literally on the road now?
Yeah, we're retired, and we have a daughter. And
Great.
No, at the very moment, I'm in a lovely cabin up in the Wasatch Mountains.
Oh, in the Wasatch Mountains. Wow. There's a poem in ModPo Plus. If you
above 8,500 feet.
Wow, more than a mile. If you email me or send me a Facebook message or whatever, I will connect you with a poet in ModPo Plus who wrote a poem about the Wasatch Mountains, which is in ModPo Plus. So I'll happily point you to it. All right. So what's going to happen, Paul? Oh, by the way, Paul Kelly. I'm the Kelly professor of English, and this is the house that Paul Kelly made possible. The late Paul Kelly. You're not the same Paul Kelly, I know, since you're not late. But we love Paul Kelly. Anybody named Paul Kelly is okay for us. So there you go.
Yeah, I am also not the Paul Kelly who used to own the bar named Crackers.
So Paul,
I used to get regular phone calls for somebody who was the Paul Kelly who owned a bar. Yes.
Wow. What I'm going to ask you to do is tell us your question or comment, and then I'm going to have JS, Erica, and Gabby respond to it. So tell us what you're thinking. What's your topic?
Yeah, so I've just been noticing, reading through the poem this time, different strategies that poets use to kind of open the poem to kind of require the engagement of the reader to kind of fill things in. And so, for example, in the essay poem by Dickinson, There Is Another Loneliness, what she does with the kind of an inversion of expected grammar and this introduction of use of words that just kind of adumbrate what they mean, like when she says nor want or friend, occasion it. All of these things force you to only gradually make sense, and in that process, the words kind of stand for a while somewhat independently, seeking connections, and so that you can actually make. While in that poem there ultimately is a grammatical construction that's consistent, but it takes a while to get it, and in the meantime, other associations between words occur. So that nor want or friend becomes the want of a friend, or the lack of a friend, or the need for friendship. So there she's got complete. She's got a clear. Once you divine it, she's got a clear grammar, clear syntax. But the strategy of it makes other associations arise.
Wow.
And it slows down the thinking process. And then you have something like Sid Corman, who he never completes the turn of phrase that he begins with. It wasn't for want of something to say. Well, after you say something, it wasn't for want of whatever. It wasn't for want of something that I did something. Well, he never completes that.
Right.
Through the whole thing.
Right.
And it leaves a certain imbalance. And people have talked a little bit about how there's something that's kind of, it's about something and it's not about something, right?
Right.
It leaves this, there's this something that isn't there, that you have to work with. And then of course you can get to Armentrout, where you've got these bits, these fragments which are put together, and there's nothing to be done except for the brain to make connections among this sequence of verbal is or words.
Yeah.
So all of the strategy, whether you have a kind of a grammar that forces you to do it, or a kind of incompletion, or just a structure that almost is no structure. It forces us to think and make connections that are the poem, but they're also just part of our brain.
Paul, that was so
anyway,
fantastic.
Yeah.
That was really lovely because, you gave us 3 different strategies, all to the basic same effects, such as delaying the reader, anticipating closing down meaning, therefore allowing meaning to open, maybe even a certain misreading is possible. That's really it's really a great description of the week 2 poems that owe something to Dickinson. I love that. Thank you, Paul. So what I'm going to ask you to do is hang up and listen to JS, Erica, and Gabby responding to what you said. And meantime, please drive safely out there and enjoy your cabin in the Wasatch Mountains. That's kind of amazing. And stay with us. We're really glad you're with us.
Will do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Paul Kelly. That was great. All right. So, JS, where do you want to go with that?
Yeah, I'm happy to just riff on it because it was so great. And I just want to say, too, that even the experience of kind of listening to that was sort of enacting something similar to these poems, like the way that these strategies really just evolved and built on each other. So that was sort of another little delightful meta moment. But yeah, I guess what sort of jumped out to me about this reading was the sort of way that with so many of these poems that we were reading, and the way that rereading or these lines are recontextualized as we move through the poem, the paradox of poetry as simultaneously already there on the page. We see it all at once, and we experience it as we read it as something that progresses through time. And so, this sort of accumulation of meaning that is staggered through time. And then when we return to the beginning of the poem, we're sort of like, oh, it's all there. But, I like to think about it also as these little paradoxes. And like one of my favorites is in Foreclosure. And the lines, leave me the land, scratch out the land. Where to me, there's something so visceral or visual about it, where like I really kind of feel this want to actually go and like scratch out the land. But of course the two just, they're always in relation to each other, and land is never scratched out, but that kind of, we're constantly reperforming it. And yeah, I don't know, that strikes me as something that feels resonant to, again, these strategies of unfolding the poem, or the way that the poem means different things at different moments. And of course, again, we have the poem right in front of us as like a visually complete thing. But yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed hearing you talk about your own readings of these poems, Paul. So thank you for that.
Thank you, JS. And thank you again, Paul. That was fantastic. So, Erica, would you comment further on this, followed by Gabby?
Yeah, Paul's comments were just extraordinary. I was writing down some of the phrases that you were sharing. I really appreciated the way that you described how the brain, is making these new connections along the sequence. And, I feel like what you're pointing to is becomes more and more important as we progress through ModPo. Because I'm thinking also about how some of these strategies, namely, becoming open to your brain making new associations between words, I imagine that's going to come in quite handy when we venture towards like the so-called language poets in later weeks.
Fantastic. Thank you, Erica, so much. And Gabby, a final thought on this topic?
Yeah, I guess I want to say that I think like one word for the kinds of operations that Paul is describing might be abstractions. Like that might be what these kind of effects are. And like when I think about an abstraction or the kinds of tools poets use to make things feel abstract or move towards abstraction, like I guess what it does is this kind of weird reverse work of also revealing what's kind of abstract in what we thought of as literal in the first place. Like, I'm thinking here about like there's an old book that I'm not really recommending people read, but is a useful tool, 7 Types of Ambiguity by William Empson, which is like a classic literary studies thing about like what is ambiguity, how the heck does it work, here's some types of it, what does it reveal to us. And one of the things that I take from that book is that the literal, or the thing that we think is non-ambiguous, is actually just built in like a different relationship to ambiguity. A good example is like what people call the dead metaphor, like the leg of a chair. That's like actually a weirdly metaphorical term, like by saying that a chair is a body that has a leg. Like we're being really figurative, but that phrase through overuse feels really literal. There's no other way to refer to the leg of a chair but the leg of a chair. This metaphor is sort of flattened over time. And so like one of the things I really appreciate about somebody like Armentrout is that she like goes into these phrases that get kind of dead over time or just seem literal, and she kind of breaks them open, and she sort of reminds us of what's already very heavily metaphorical about even just the way I'm talking now, like what is already metaphorical about the literal. I hope that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It's great. Thank you, Gabby. Okay, so I'm going to turn to Lainey, who has a question for all of us, about You Are My Friend. And I wonder, Lainey, if we can get away with everyone responding briefly to your question. So,
including on the chat, too. We can kind of resound what's coming up there.
I think we should. Dave and Gabby, will you watch the YouTube chat in response to the question that Lainey's... We haven't done this in a long time, so basically let's see if we can get some live responses from the people.
Should we hear...
Yeah, we should read the poem.
We should read the poem. Okay. I'm going to ask Sophia to read the poem.
Oh.
Here, you can read my copy of it right here.
Is it You Are My Friend?
We could fight over
Yeah, You Are My Friend.
Okay.
Okay. So this is Lori Niedeker's You Are My Friend. You are my friend. You bring me peaches and the high bush cranberry. You carry my fish pole. You water my worms. You patch my boot with your mending kit. Nothing in it but my hand.
Lovely. Thank you, Sophia. So my question, 2 different questions respond to either or both. Say anything about the you in this poem. Who is the you? And the second one is, what is the concept of friend in this poem? And what might the poem be saying about friendship?
So everybody gets to answer either one of those. How's that sound?
Mm-hmm.
And while the YouTube people are responding, will you open it up too on this? Yeah. Let's start with Dave in response to either of those questions.
I'm sorry. I was looking at the YouTube comments.
That's okay. We'll skip you for a second. You'll figure it out. And Erica, would you respond to either of those 2 questions?
Yeah, I'm just taking a moment to think.
Who is you? And
you is super interesting because, there's sort of an unveiling of the you as the poem moves forward. And then it's just the hand. So I'm trying, in my head as I'm reading this and I'm processing the questions, I'm trying to make like a movie in my mind of what's happening in the poem. So there's this you that's bringing a me peaches. The you is carrying the fishbowl. The you is watering the worms, patching the boot. Patching the boot. But then the mending kit, nothing in it but my hand. So it seems like the you is collapsing in on itself, and maybe the you is the me. And, it becomes almost like an Emersonian self-reliance type thing.
I love that.
Dave, Gabby, do you want to quote from the YouTube chat? Because people are starting to talk about it.
Vijaya said the example of the chair was brilliant. Paul Kelly said, what I love about the poem is that I have two different readings, both of which I love, but which stand in tension with each other. James R. said it's a lovely poem, so hard to pin down who the you and who the me is.
Gabby, you want to pick up?
Yes. Sanjeev says, I'm going with a meta reading. You is the reader. Jane Ward says, or you could be the lover. Magdalena, friend is to lover as prose is to poetry. Nephthys Wolf says, the friend imagined a neighbor close enough to offer simple help. There's a lot, and they're coming in actually.
This is working.
Like in Viva, like as we're talking.
Yeah.
Paul Kelly, I think, like following up on what Dave read earlier, you is an actual lover, friend. The friend lover is the mending kit, a mending of the heart more than a boot. Or you is the poet's hand. We are in Emily Dickinson's world of loneliness.
Gabby, can I ask you a question about this? And then I'm dying to hear what Lainey has to say in response to all this. The reading that we offer, I think, in the video is a reading that the hand is a self-pleasuring hand or is a self-sufficient hand sexually. And a lot of people don't like that reading. I guess I want to ask you any version of what would be the next natural question is like, why don't people think that the hand is basically the friend? Why do people oppose that reading? Is it is it shutting down the possibilities?
So you're saying, why do people dislike the kind of slightly masturbatory reading, right?
Slightly, yes.
Yeah, I'd say slightly because that word has other valences. But
yeah.
No, I mean, I think this is like maybe a problem of a poem being about itself, like to be in reference to oneself, to sort of auto reference sets up a few problems because it sort of makes this closed circuit that almost by being about itself feels kind of meaningless, or for some means kind of everything. It can be very hard to access. Some people would describe it as masturbatory in the sort of negative sense, like it's looking at itself and therefore not to the world or something. But I think like our reading is based not only on the image of the hand as like an erotic image, but also in kind of drawing out like what it would mean to basically be about oneself. When you say like, I am about myself, where does that kind of end? And does it become a sort of like a level of self-intimacy to the point of a kind of eroticized one? Is it like I support myself in a very material sense? Like I am keeping myself alive in the world. Yeah, I think we're just kind of drawing out, maybe in a way that some people are allergic to, what it would mean to have to like open a box and find yourself, and then that person opens a box and find themselves, and etc.
What do you think, Lainey?
I think the ambiguity in the poem is indisputable and really interesting. I love the reading of there's a turn that, as Erica pointed, where we think the you is someone else, and then we think the you, the hand, belongs to the speaker. There was one comment I thought was so beautiful in the chat. Jennifer wrote, the hand, herself. It sounds like a poem. And then I also just thought about Ashbery's, the poem is you. Mm-hmm. The poem is sad because it wants to be yours and cannot. The poem is you. So like there's this paradox. So there is this aspect of the reader also as the you.
poet's work leads us to this, I think. I'm just going to say a thought, share a thought, and then we're going to do final words. We're going to go around, and everybody's going to get a chance to say anything they want about the week. I love this poem because it's a version of poet's work. It's saying, what friend do I have around here? Who's going to bring the peaches? Who's going to bring the cranberry in the high bushes? Who's going to reach that far? Who's going to carry my fish pole? I am. I'm going to do these things. I water the worms. I patch the boot. And the mending kid, who's going to mend me? I'm going to mend me. This is what I have. I have myself.
There's nobody else coming to rescue us but ourselves.
Yeah,
exactly. It's pretty empowering, I think.
It's lovely. So, masturbatory is not even the right word for that reading. It's more like when I look in the mending kit to see who's going to help me, it's my own hand.
And it's also it's very Modpovian in the sense of the reader. Yes, you can read these poems. Yes, you can say something about these poems. Every single person, right?
Yeah. Wonderful. Let's see what else finally before we do final words, what's in here. I love the ambiguity of the poem, Jane Ward. The hand like the hand that is gathering paradise. Totally. Yep. Yes, the reader as the you. Sanjeev. Hi, Sanjeev. I do like the idea of peaches. Oh, peaches. Oh, okay. I forgot there's a sexuality of peaches, right? Emersonian poem that, etc. Oh, this is great. Okay. Final thoughts. Anything you want to say, either about week 2 or maybe looking ahead to week 3, or if you want to just praise Chris and Zach, you can do that, or whatever you want to do. So let's go to Sophia first, followed by JS.
Okay, for my final words, I think I'll just talk about a lovely moment that happened in my office hours this morning where Mona and Rahana both shared links to their own personal writing, and I encouraged them to share those links in my office hours thread. And I just think that's a really lovely way of continuing to build this community. So if you ever join my office hours and you've written something that you would like this community to read, I encourage you to post that link. And Vijaya was very sweet and just said that she finished reading my own chapbook, which was very nice of her.
Oh, yes.
And I didn't even tell her about it. She just found it.
Tell everybody the name of your chapbook,
What's the name
please.
of your chapbook?
It's called Florida's Projects.
Florida's Projects.
Yeah. So thank you, Vijaya, for reading that on your own accord.
Great idea for office hours. I don't know if I said JS was next, but JS next and Erica's on deck.
Yeah, I think I'm still lingering on hands. And so my final comment will be about hands. And I think, just kind of adding to the already sort of layered meanings that we have talked about. I guess, I don't know, I just think about the hand as so central to so many things that we experience, both, hand as in handwriting, hand that produces art, but also hand that's sort of the weathered hand of the laborer, the classic, synecdoche of hand that is just referring to the laborer as a whole. And I feel like in this poem, there is just this, mundaneness, not mundane as in bland, but mundane as in everyday, and that intimacy of the everyday and the just kind of everyday labor that is both labor and art that feels so present throughout so many of Niederker's poems. And lastly, on the masturbatory note, the hand that touches, the hand as a site of intimacy. And so, I don't know, the sort of nothing in it but my hand, like the hand is everything.
Love that. Thank you, JS. Erica's up. And then Heather, do you still have the mic? Heather will be on deck. Erica, final thought?
It's a book recommendation. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So Modpo this week has been sending me to reread lots of Lorene Niedecker. And there's a book called Lake Superior that Wave Books published that's astonishing. So it's the Niedecker poem Lake Superior with all kinds of other stuff like Niedecker's travel and reading notes, journal excerpts, like stuff from like Wisconsin nature guidebook type things. it's really amazing, and it adds a whole other dimension to the poem.
Thank you for that recommendation. That's great. And again, I'd recommend that everybody go to modpo.org and click on Explore Modpo or Database and just put in Niedeker. And you will see several screens of poems and videos and audio. We do a lot with Niedeker at Modpo Plus. And modpo.org is a great way to have that organized for you. Okay, Heather is up and Jason is on deck.
One thing I really appreciated this week, kind of rediscovering poetry, slowing down reading, is realizing, and I think someone said this in some of the comments, how much meaning is packed into such a condensed writing form. So like foreclosure, I feel like there's so much said there. It's so short, and there's so many nuances and sentiments that I picked up with so few words. And similarly with Dance Ruse, like that image, the image of that poem is in my mind. I feel like it can mean many things. It makes me laugh, it makes me feel bad, and I just kind of marvel at that rediscovering poetry and how the openness of it and the interpretation of it is, I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed reading all of them.
Yay, Heather. Thank you, Heather, for coming tonight. Hope you'll come again lots. That's really great.
I recommend it if you live nearby. It's very lovely here.
It is. Okay, let's listen to Foreclosure before we turn to Jason.
Foreclosure. Tell him to take my bare walls down, my cement abutments, their parties thereof and claws of claws. Leave me the land, scratch out the land. May prose and property both die out, and leave me peace.
That's Lori Niedeker in her kitchen in Wisconsin. Sort of, it's a one-room cottage, really. So it's kitchen, yeah.
It's one
at
room.
At the table with Sid Corman running the reel-to-reel. I mean, just imagine that scene. That's great. Okay, Jason is up and Dave's on deck.
I was just thinking about the fear of the masturbatory hand, and was just thinking, like, so this is like a preachy thing that, like, so the one benefit of working, being present both there and on screen and at home is that I can take notes. So anyway, I just wrote up this little thing. The idea of a singular self, of an independent, unified entity that acts on its own, like a voter, creator, author, poet, thinker, reader, writer, is a persuasive idea, but it's one of many competing concepts. It's not a real thing. And it's really like emergent in the late 1700s with the Romantics and the independence movements in France and the US. But something that's permeable and multiple, and especially any kind of pleasure emergent outside of the supervision of monetary networks, investor relations, scales of economies, that comes from within the self or is emergent in community that you don't pay for, makes some people really agitated and upset.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for those final thoughts. And let's turn to Dave, followed by Gabby.
This is just really an observation about week two, and I like week two for a lot of reasons, but mostly because it sets the stage for week three. It almost gives us an introduction to poets as characters. A lot of these poems seem almost confessional, and we get the same poets like William Carlos Williams next week taking a different tact. It's no longer first person. It's third person. It's observational. So I really just like the progression that we get to know these people a little bit in this week, and then we progress beyond that a little bit more next week.
That's great. Yeah, we did really intend for Williams to carry over from the so-called Whitmanian to, in this case, Imagism next week. And next week, week 3, we begin to look at the rise of modernism, particularly at first in the form of one of the modernist movements in the U.S., particularly Imagism, as I mentioned. So let's go to Lainey for a final thought, and then I'll have a couple of announcements, and we will be off the air.
I just want to repeat a couple of memorable statements that were made tonight. So Gabby said about Ray, she goes into phrases and breaks them open. We're going to be doing more of that. And then JS, delaying and aboutness. Mm-hmm. The breaking open the phrases connects to the delaying and aboutness, which seems kind of anthemic to a lot of this work. And I also just want to ballyhoo office hours. Everyone's office hours. My office hours are 4:00 on Mondays on Zoom. So we're having a lot of fun. So come and check out. There's office hours every day with different awesome TAs where you can just show up and say, I want to talk about this poem. I want to talk about this poem, and just see what happens. So please join us.
Highly recommend office hours. Highly, highly. It's great. Gabby, I forgot about you. Does this mean your luck is turning bad? I don't know what's happening.
Oh, God, don't start.
No. You have a final thought, but we won't see you for a few weeks. So, I guess make this a great final thought, or to put it another way, we'll miss you.
Well, I'll be back in week 9 to do more chat reading with Dave, which, by the way, that felt very week 9 in a way. Okay.
Do you promise you'll do that? The thing is, you'll be here sitting at the table.
It's true. I will. I'll be in Philadelphia. That'll be fun. We've got a packed schedule, Al. It'll be good.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Yeah. It's a quadruple header, I think, that day.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I have 3 little things, none of which are philosophical or particularly deep. The first is the chat enjoyed being called upon by you, Al. Just want you to know that. Secondly, I've been reading the new Dion Brand Collected, and it's been kicking my butt. It's really good.
Big book.
Yeah, it's a big book. I mean, it's a collected. You read what you want to.
Do you know there's some Dion Brand in Modpo Plus?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
That's the new poem that starts it is like killer. Super good. Third thing is I am doing office hours tomorrow at noon Eastern time to 1 Eastern time. And it's the first time I've ever done a Zoom office hours. I'm somewhat Zoom allergic, so this is like, please know I'm meeting the peoples. Come in with whatever you want to talk about, but also maybe I'll have something in the back pocket. It'll be on Zoom, and it's on the little website, the forums.
How could you be allergic to Zoom? We've done the webcast for years on Zoom. You don't count that?
Well, I take a Benadryl.
Oh God. Okay.
I'm kidding.
All right. Just make sure you don't leave
just have to get used to this stuff in this world. You can't say no to Zoom. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna
just don't leave the Benadryl lying around for the cats, because
It's a metaphorical Benadryl. It's an abstract.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that. In my world, the Benadryl is a dead metaphor. Hey, I just have two comments, miscellaneous ones. One is that people posted to the thread in the forums in Coursera. And I feel a little bad that we didn't turn to them, because there were some great comments. We were focusing today on the YouTube chat. And please don't be discouraged from posting to the thread. And I am going to go there tonight and look and make some... What was that? Somebody added something. I am going to go into that thread tonight and respond to some people. And we do enjoy what you've written, and we will read everything you've written there. So thank you for posting there. And the final announcement is to remind you that next Wednesday at noon, we will be sitting here with Rachel Blau-Duplessis. And it's the perfect week for Rachel because it is, we've got HD next week. We've got Williams. We've got the early Ezra Pound. HD in particular is of interest to Rachel. So we're really excited that Rachel will be here for that. And I want to remind you that at 6 p.m. Philadelphia time that evening, Rachel will be reading from her poems. So this has been lots of fun. Thank you. Good night, Erica, Dave, Jason, Gabby. Love you guys all. JS, you are part of the family.
Yes.
I mean, I love the riffing and the, not being nervous ahead of time. And
I feel like, I'm easing more into it.
you got it. You got it. Sophia, as always, see you tomorrow. Lainey, see you tomorrow also. And Heather, thank you for coming. Come again. Lowell, calling from the flatlands of Washington. Maggie Ball coming from New South Wales in Australia. Dear old friend, as is Lowell. And Paul Kelly, a relatively new friend from the Wasatch Mountains in a cabin somewhere. It's only 7 or 8 o'clock out there, so you have a long evening ahead of you, Paul. Make sure you, look at the sunset. Thank you all. We'll see you in the forums, and we'll see you a week from now in this webcast. Take care. Bye-bye.